Well, thank you all, and great to have that powerful introduction. I would like to take you a bit back in the discussion on smart cities, because what we have learned in the last 2 days, actually, is that we have talked a lot about the front runners, like many of the big cities that are implementing technological solutions. And yes, smart city is like this big buzzword that has been, I would say, from today's perspective, become a mainstream reality for larger cities. But never forget that there is this huge and massive amount of smaller and medium-sized cities and even communities that don't have an urban setting, but rather a rural setting and are interconnected to cities. And what they all have in common is certain challenges, problems, and on the other hand, a lot of opportunities they can seize. And when we talk about urban renewal, it is the way of a city or community acting to increase prosperity and livability in a community. And that's also the ultimate goal of a smart city. What I want to talk about is first to see or have a new perspective on smart city as a big term. Second, how can a city or community, no matter of size, of geographical setting, embrace that concept to drive urban renewal? And then the third point, of course, give you some of the key takeaways, how cities can act and what is important for them to create a prosperous future. If I would ask you that question, what is a smart city? How do you define that? I think we can talk about a whole week about that term, and we will not come to a common conclusion. Two features that we have talked about the last 2 days were technology and sustainability, and those are certainly two defining aspects of a smart city. Let us take a look on how smart city development or evolution can be regarded. It all started about more than 10 years ago with big technology companies trying to use that word as an avenue for sales and telling cities with using new technology, you can be regarded as being more innovative and you can drive effectiveness or efficiency. That was like how it all started. We have advanced over the last years in that development into what can be seen as the Smart City 2.0, where cities have taken the lead, not being dependent on some big corporations, but rather structuring in a top-down manner, using master plans to kind of articulate their ambition to become a smart city and implementing technology-driven solutions. A city like Barcelona, that you all know as a great example of an early adopter of smart cities, falls into that category at that time and was one of the early movers. But then, as most businesses know, it is pretty important to keep the customer in focus. And that's not only a business success story, but that's also important for cities. Technology itself is an enabler, but if you have the attitude of building something and hoping that everybody will use this is the wrong assumption. And this is why we have moved then in later stages, and this started in around 2015, and it goes on until today, to put the different stakeholders in smart city development into focus and to engage in co-creation, really opening up governmental structures to interact with citizens, with businesses, and all the other stakeholders that form the civil society to create and develop better solutions and to increase the likelihood of adoption of these solutions. And if I take a look in the future, what we currently see, and yesterday Franz Anton Vermast talked about Amsterdam a bit, we're seeing that on two levels we move into the platform economy in a way also in cities. And on the one hand, it is about the city as a platform integrating different technological solutions into, I would say, an urban dashboard to control this technology and to monitor the situation in cities. And the second part of platforms is to have participatory platforms where you engage with all different stakeholders. And we see that this will be the future. Amsterdam is, with the Amsterdam Smart City platform, one of the forerunners. Pretty expensive project, but very, very successful. And we also see other cities move into that direction because, independent of time and location, you can really work together with the different stakeholders and ensure maximum success of smart city solutions. But still, for most cities and communities that are not some of the early adopters that have undertaken or went through that learning curve in the past, there is often the assumption of the government, we know everything better and we don't need to integrate the citizen opinions. We have our master plan and we're implementing that and using technology. Actually, this won't work in the future, or it's not a basis for success. You should rather see Smart City as an ecosystem of solutions, individual, goal and purpose-oriented implementation of certain projects to optimize processes, to ensure participation, and really to drive change in different aspects of the city. And the smart city concept should be seen as a holistic approach to really work in all dimensions that is relevant for a city, whether that's the economy, whether that's mobility topics, whether that's inclusion of different population groups and also the sourcing of talents, whether that's e-government and smart government services, whether that's into smart buildings and even the smart home. It is like that all aspects of a city can be covered by a smart city approach. This ecosystem is really massive and complex, and this is something that especially smaller cities and communities cannot really grasp. This list is not exclusive. There are so many other topics, but just to show you the massive structure or the massive approaches that you could take in different aspects of optimizing collaboration and also optimizing processes and functions of each individual city. And this includes technology, like civic technology, government technology, and then prop tech if we talk about real estate on different spatial levels within the city. Whether that's citywide infrastructure, whether that's district-oriented solutions, like you often see in terms of energy, but also mobility, and then even moving into the commercial or public building sector and into smart home applications. For cities to really engage in that ecosystem, it means they need a lot of resources to really actively facilitate the implementation of solutions. And what we have learned over the past 2 days is that we need collaboration. And we have moved from a triple helix approach into a quadruple helix approach. So we need to ensure that to implement different solutions, government, businesses, academic institutions, and now the fourth pillar, which is the citizens or the residents, need to collaborate on implementing the best suited solutions to the individual problems in cities and communities. And I would, in this respect, say the smart city concept, although we have the term smart in this, which indicates in most heads the term technology, is not purely about technology. I don't want to bother you with our definition of a smart city, but rather, if you look at this holistically from a city perspective, I would say smart city is more the ability of a community to utilize all the resources in terms of people, so it's the human intelligence and also all the assets that you have to actively engage in the challenges that you have, face the current problems, or seize opportunities to increase prosperity and livability. And that definition is pretty generic, but in a way it makes clear that there's no technology focus. If you want to reach that goal, which is, I think, from our all perspective, as we all live in a community and we all work in communities, creating quality of life and economic prosperity, it is necessary for cities to overcome certain challenges. As I have shown you before, this ecosystem is massive. So how can cities navigate the smart city ecosystem? That is pretty difficult if you don't have technological talent in your city government, you don't have the budgetary resources to assess the opportunities that are out there. And in the end, it is important to know what solutions are out there. And I think if you're in a city, let's say you have a problem with inner city traffic, you know that a lot of traffic in the city is about park searching traffic, and then currently, especially in Europe, we face driving prohibitions due to particulate matter and air quality problems. And now you say, okay, how can I solve this problem? You may come up with looking to solutions in smart parking. Now you're a city government and you have like this perspective. Only on your city, maybe you're working with colleagues in the neighboring cities. Where do you look for solutions? How do you know what solutions out there have proven to deliver result? Who are solution providers that you could get in touch with? And most cities don't have this worldwide overview. If you're a smaller city, cities tend to reinvent the wheel. They will look to the local university or inside the region. They will create a whole new project out of this, which is pretty inefficient, because if they would look beyond their own borders, they would see there are about 100 smart parking solutions implemented in a couple of hundred cities around the globe. So why don't you widen your focus and see what's in the market, assess these solutions, and then engage with one of the solution providers that best fit your needs and adapt those solutions locally. It saves taxpayers money because you don't need to do everything from scratch. It saves human resources, and ultimately it's more efficient to implement solutions that are already out there. Often this is a big problem because from a political perspective and also from a marketing perspective, like every mayor wants to say, hey, we have created these great solutions, and they want to market it outside. But it may not be the efficient way of doing this. So often what we see in really implementing solutions is that on the one hand, purpose is missing. And you see that with all the newest technology that we have. Yes, of course, the big cities like Dubai, Singapore, and others are doing pilots in autonomous driving, in AI, and other topics. But that's, to be honest, even if you talk to cities like Boston in the United States or Palo Alto in Silicon Valley, they say, hey, that's far ahead. Don't come to me with these kind of projects currently or with city platforms. There are so many other issues we need to work on. Bring to me solutions to problems that we currently have. All other initiatives are mostly marketing. Yes, you are innovative, or people look to you as an innovative city, but it is about implementing solutions in a sustainable and cost-efficient way. That's the ultimate goal, and not running 100 pilots just to show you're innovative. Because the outcome for the citizens, your final customers, will not be there, and you're wasting a lot of taxpayers' money. So purpose is one thing that every community should really have in mind when implementing solutions. I will give you one example from a city in Germany that I worked for the last 12 years. In 2016, it said open data is a big topic, that we need to do that. So they came up with an open data portal, did a press release and said, Creative Commons license, people out there, you can use that, create new applications. And nothing happened. And this is the second part that is important. One is, what do you want to achieve? And the second is, essentially, how smart are you in execution of solutions? And I think the second part, the execution of solutions, is more important than the technology part. Because with technology, we can do nearly everything today. It's only a cost issue. But in engaging the final receivers of this solution, whether that's the citizens or businesses, it is important to engage them. In the execution, if the city in Germany would have known how Washington, D.C. prepared their open data portal and how they managed to achieve the involvement of different parties to generate new applications, they would have been pretty successful. Because Washington, D.C. had the same issue. Yes, we want to use open data, but how can we achieve that goal to develop applications that benefits us as a city? This is a purpose question. The second question was, how can we engage our recipients? And they took the help of a company that structured the data, analyzed what data was available, what data could be combined, and then they set on top an innovation contest to engage students, developers, and they created more than 40 applications out of this process. 6 of them were finally implemented with a monetary value of 2.3 million euros. And what the city did spend was 50,000 euros just in prize money for the competition. So it's 50,000 against 2.3 million with great applications that have been developed. And this is the difference between that city in Germany and Washington, D.C. It's about the smart implementation. Now, open data is not high technology, but it is the way on how you arrange solutions and implement solutions that is more important than the original technology. I will give you a second example, also from Germany. In my region, where I come from, the Ruhr region, we had massive structural change. We lost more than 700,000 jobs in the heavy industry since the early 70s. It created huge problems in terms of unemployment in the cities, and we still have huge unemployment, especially in age groups under 25. So when we talk about smart city, and then I'm back at the holistic approach, it is about including also the different population groups. And at that time, we had no clue how can we, in a proactive way, solve that problem of at-risk youth and school dropout, potential unemployment at later stages, and how can we solve that? We saw that the labor market changed, like all applications you do nowadays are online. So these students need to prepare everything digitally. They need to learn how to work digital equipment. The question is also, do they have that equipment at home? It's a question that you have in most smart city solutions is, how can you organize them in a really inclusive way? And of course, everybody of us here would say, hey, we all have electronic devices, whether that's a smartphone, a workstation at home. Yes, but certain age groups or even other population groups that may be socially weak, maybe they don't have the infrastructure. So what do? We adopted a system that one community in southern Germany has implemented in a very personal way of really advising those young people and giving them the access to digital technology to prepare also job applications. It wasn't a very expensive project because it was very human resource intensive, but the outcome was that we had then the lowest youth unemployment in Germany. And this is also a way of thinking about how can you use technology that is not rocket science, because we're talking about sometimes easy technology, but how can you implement it in a smart way to achieve goals that really impact the city on a very extensive level? So my point is, if you embrace the smart city concept, do that from a holistic perspective, not only from a technology perspective, but rather think about the implementation of solutions on different levels in the community, and think about the partners you might need to do that. And if you don't have like this master plan, of course it is needed that you have government backing, but in the end it comes down to the actual implementation and execution. Start where you are. And I would say every city and every community is in some ways already smart, because they have different solutions implemented that might not be technological solutions, but they are responding to challenges and problems. And this is the main point. And once you know your status quo, you then look for the urgent problems, the pressing problems that you want to tackle, and you start building an ecosystem of smart solutions really by prioritizing the problems that you want to tackle to drive urban renewal. That might be, some cases, economic solutions like fostering the startup ecosystem or fueling innovation between university and local businesses. That might also be technological solutions like waste management solutions or traffic solutions. But in this circular development, in really assessing the status quo, checking priorities and implementing then solutions, you engage in a circle that over time makes your city and community smarter and smarter. You may not be, or in the press, not be the front runner, but you can argue with how you solve challenges and problems. And that is often more, or creates more response from the population than doing all the marketing. Just a quick word to our company. We have chosen to support cities and communities of all sizes via a global smart city solution database or platform and community. We have created a global solution database of currently more than 515 smart city solutions that have been implemented in 500 cities and communities around the globe. We have started that about 6 months ago, to make it easier for cities that have identified certain problems to look what is out there, to look beyond their own border, to see what's available, what solutions might fit them. And in the 6 months, we're now at around 7,800 users from 150 countries, really 35% government users, universities, and companies. Just the invitation to you, if you're looking for solutions and don't know where to start, use the platform just to inform yourself. You can also add, as a city or solution provider, solutions for free to that database. In a way, driving urban renewal means with your old ways, you won't get far. So you need to take into account changed location factors, the influence by technology, influenced by different consumer behavior, to really achieve your goals. And there's one thing that is pretty important, and that is my final conclusion. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, we have seen here so many solution providers that have solutions that are successfully implemented. Really adapt and replicate solutions. Like the examples, the two I gave you, there are so many other topics where you could say, yes, let's be efficient. Let me look what other cities and communities around the globe do. I know maybe a city in the United States has totally different regulatory conditions or legal conditions, but the methods that are implemented and also the technology that is implemented is universal. The point for you is to adapt that to your local conditions. That's the work every city and community needs to do, but you don't need to start from scratch. So that's the invitation to talk to all the solution providers here about their solutions that you can implement for your own city or community. And that's about it. I think if you have questions, we can do that afterwards. I will be here the whole afternoon. Or also you can meet us at several global smart city events and engage in discussions. 50 seconds prior to the end, so thank you for listening.